What are artifacts from the future? Well, an artifact from the future is any everyday object or specific concrete detail about the future that you can really make and bring to life and put into today to provoke conversation and imagination about the world we might live in. And the best way to explain artifacts are just to show you some. So you may recall earlier in the specialization, we talked about a scenario involving surveillance toilets. We talked about smart toilets that could detect everything from drug use and medications to stress levels and pregnancy hormones. And we talked about a world in which this technology might be used not just at home for you to help monitor your health, but also in public settings, in schools, in workplaces. And we asked how you might feel in a world where every time you use a bathroom, somebody might be learning something about your physical or mental health, your everyday behaviors. And you may recall that we said we actually have a sign at the Institute for the Future in our public restrooms that are essentially artifacts from this future. These signs read, "Attention, the toilet you are about to use is under the surveillance of our local city and our state, and your input may be analyzed. The data may be sold and shared. We may combine it with facial recognition so that we can contact you about your contributions if we need to." Right? This sign is in a real restroom, and it's there to create that real visceral, immersive intuition about what it might feel like to walk into this future someday. We don't want to just offer up an abstract, hypothetical idea about the future. We want to make it concrete. Okay? And that's what an artifact from the future is. And you can take it one step further. Once you have one artifact, it might inspire another. This is an artifact that was inspired by that sign. This is called the Smart Toilet Biometric Privacy Spray. And we actually have this in our public restrooms on the table with, the hand soaps and the perfumes. And this artifact from the future promises to mask all of your DNA, hormone, drug, nutrient, and health markers if you spray it in the toilet before you flush. Now, this is not a real product that exists today, but it could very well be a product that would exist in a future where surveillance toilets are common. So you can imagine creating a whole ecosystem of signs and objects and products and services and advertisements that might exist in a given future, and putting these out into the real world to provoke these moments of, whoa, I can really feel or imagine that future. And sometimes there can be a little uncertainty about whether this artifact is real or not. We usually try to put indications, whether it's an Institute for the Future logo or a URL that they can go to learn more about the scenario, or we might put a date from the future, manufactured April 1st, 2025, to let people know that this is a future scenario. But there's always the risk when you put something real in the real world that somebody will mistake it for real. And we had a really interesting experience with one of our future artifacts recently. One of my colleagues, Jake Dunnigan, who you will get a mini masterclass from shortly in immersive futures, he had some of his students make artifacts for the urban environment, and one of the artifacts they made was a very convincing looking sign that read "CRISPR Free Campus." They posted it by Stanford University, and the sign says that violators will face criminal penalties, no exceptions, if you use CRISPR technology. And this is imagining a future in which a technology that certainly is raising some ethical concerns today has been banned for research. And CRISPR, as you may know, this is a DNA altering technology. It allows scientists to precision target specific DNA sequences, and it's currently being investigated as a way to prevent certain diseases or to prevent genetic defects, but it's also being controversially thought about possibly as a way to create sort of super able humans, maybe designer babies. there's a lot of uncertainty about how accepted this technology will be in the future. So this sign that you see here, this was put up by our offices, by Stanford University, and one of the things that was really nice about this artifact is it has a piece of graffiti attached to it, that on top of the sign saying it's CRISPR-free campus, there's a pro-CRISPR sticker stuck right on top of the sign that says "Make Life CRISPR." So this is like a kind of a very deep artifact that's working on two levels. In this future, CRISPR has been banned, but there's like a resistance movement, people who want CRISPR, and they're going around graffitiing the anti-CRISPR signs with pro-CRISPR graffiti. What was interesting is that we had a moment of confusion in the community where some members of the community interpreted the graffiti as real, and they thought, heck no, we too are anti-CRISPR, and they removed the pro-CRISPR sticker whenever it was applied. So there was a kind of resistance within the real present day to this imagined artifact of the future. And this is just like a really nice example of how that kind of blurry line between today and future can be explored productively by artifacts. This is a really immersive technique. Artifacts don't have to be real. They don't necessarily have to be in the physical environment. You may recall the scenario that the next artifact I'm about to show you is from. This is the EduLedger scenario, where anybody can teach anyone anything and give them a learning credit. So you would have watched this scenario a few courses back. And when we first presented this scenario, we actually created a digital artifact where if you engage with the scenario, if you shared with us some positive and shadow imagination about the scenario, we sent you this artifact. It was your first EduBlock. You earned +1 in Foresight from the Institute for the Future, and it was this kind of fully designed artifact with your own EduBlock address, and it could kind of help you imagine what it would be like to receive EduBlocks in this future on your personal device. So it doesn't have to be physical. As long as you can get it out into the world and have people interact with it, you can provoke these really immersive and provocative experiences of the future. In the next video, I'll show you some more examples of some artifacts that have provoked a lot of conversation here at the Institute for the Future. And then we're going to let you meet some artifact designers and have them walk you through their creative process.